With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu. At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're tackling Pennsylvania. You sent us a really interesting collection of sources. Looks like we've got historical accounts, some encyclopedia entries, and even some recent news clips.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of interest in how Pennsylvania's history shapes the state it is today.
It definitely does. And it's not just about Philly cheesesteaks and the Liberty Bell, you know. We're talking about the birthplace of American democracy, a state that's been at the forefront of industry and innovation, and a place with a really unique cultural blend.
You're right. It's a state that's often overlooked, but it's got a story that's as complex and compelling as any other.
So let's start from the beginning. Before European settlers arrived, the land we now call Pennsylvania was home to various indigenous tribes.
Yeah, you've got the Delaware, the Susquehannock, and of course the powerful Iroquois Confederacy.
The Iroquois Confederacy? Now that's a name that carries some weight. What was their influence like in the region?
Well, their territory actually spanned a huge area beyond just Pennsylvania. And what's fascinating is their system of governance. It was really democratic for its time. They had this grand council where representatives from the different Iroquois nations would come together to make decisions.
Wow, so they had a representative government way back then. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it was. And it's quite different from the European monarchies that were dominant at the time.
I'm seeing here that you've highlighted some stuff about their influence on early colonial governments. Is there a connection there?
It's a thought-provoking idea,
Right.
for sure. I mean, I'm not saying William Penn directly copied their system, but it's interesting to consider how different cultures and forms of governance might have influenced each other.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit to William Penn's arrival in 1681. He comes over with this grand vision for a colony based on religious freedom and Quaker principles.
Right. And that vision really attracted a diverse group of settlers. You had Quakers, of course.
Right.
But also Germans, Scots-Irish, and others who were seeking refuge from persecution in Europe.
So from the very beginning, Pennsylvania had this kind of melting pot of cultures.
Exactly. And that diversity has really shaped the state's character over the centuries.
But Penn wasn't just dealing with these different European groups, right? He also had to navigate relationships with the indigenous tribes.
Absolutely. Penn's vision of peaceful coexistence didn't always translate into reality. There were treaties and attempts at diplomacy, but ultimately the expansion of European settlements led to displacement and conflict.
It seems like there's a tragic irony there. A colony founded on ideals of freedom and tolerance also contributed to the displacement of the people who are already here.
It's a complex part of the story that's important to acknowledge, and it's a theme that continues to resonate today in the ongoing debates about land rights representation and the legacy of colonialism.
All right, so we've got this melting pot of cultures and this complex relationship with the indigenous population. Now, one thing that really jumped out at me from your notes is Pennsylvania's role in the American Revolution.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. Both Continental Congresses met in Philadelphia, and of course the Declaration of Independence was signed there in 1776.
You even marked a passage in one of the historical accounts about how Philadelphia was teeming with activity during that time. Must have been a pretty wild scene.
Oh, I bet. Delegates from all the colonies coming together, heated debates, the sense that history was being made. Philadelphia was at the epicenter of the revolution.
It's like the birthplace of American democracy, right there in Independence Hall.
And Pennsylvania was right in the thick of it all. It was one of the most active and influential colonies in the fight for independence.
Right. And it wasn't just about signing documents. Pennsylvania also contributed troops supplies and even had a couple of major battles fought within its borders.
Exactly. The Battle of Brandywine, just outside Philadelphia, was a turning point in the war, even though it was a loss for the Americans. And then there's Valley Forge, where Washington and his troops endured that brutal winter. Those stories are etched into Pennsylvania's landscape.
Okay, so we've got this colony founded on these big ideals, wrestling with the challenges of colonialism, and then playing this pivotal role in the birth of a nation. That's a lot to pack into just a few decades.
And it really sets the stage for what Pennsylvania becomes in the centuries that follow. I'm seeing you've got some articles about Pennsylvania's economic development. Do you want to dive into that next?
Absolutely. I'm particularly interested in how Pennsylvania transitioned from an agricultural economy to becoming this industrial powerhouse and then to the more diverse economy we see today.
Well, that evolution really mirrors the changes that swept across America during the 19th and 20th centuries. And Pennsylvania's rich natural resources played a huge role in its growth.
We're talking coal, timber, iron ore, and fertile farmland.
Right, exactly. And you also highlighted a section about the importance of Pennsylvania's river systems.
Yeah, they were essential for transportation and trade, right?
Yeah.
Connecting Pennsylvania to the rest of the colonies and later to the growing nation.
Absolutely. So you've got the natural resources and this transportation network. What were some of the key industries that emerged?
Well, I know agriculture was huge. Pennsylvania was like a breadbasket for the nation, producing wheat, corn, and all sorts of other crops. But then things started to change pretty rapidly in the early 19th century.
That's when the Industrial Revolution really kicks in.
With innovations like the steam engine and the railroad transforming transportation and manufacturing.
Exactly. And Pennsylvania was really well positioned to take advantage of these new technologies.
I'm guessing coal played a pretty big part in that.
Absolutely. Pennsylvania had huge deposits of anthracite coal, which was highly prized for its energy content. It fueled the factories, the railroads, even people's homes.
So this is where we see the rise of cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
Exactly. They became centers of industry and commerce. Philadelphia, with its port and its legacy, as the nation's first capital, continued to grow as a financial and cultural hub.
And Pittsburgh, with all that coal nearby, became a steel-making giant.
It earned the nickname Steel City for a reason. The steel mills of Pittsburgh produced the materials that built skyscrapers, bridges, and railroads across the country.
It's an amazing story of growth and innovation, but I'm also seeing some of your notes about the downsides of this industrial boom. Things like labor unrest and environmental damage.
Yeah, the rapid industrialization of Pennsylvania brought both progress and problems. Working conditions in the factories and mines were often harsh and dangerous.
And the demand for coal led to widespread mining, which had a huge impact on the environment.
Absolutely. Deforestation, pollution, and mining accidents were all part of the story. It's a reminder that economic progress often comes at a price.
So we've got this incredible transformation from an agricultural society to this industrial powerhouse, but it's a really complex story with both positive and negative consequences.
And that complexity continues to shape Pennsylvania today. We'll talk more about that in the next part of our deep dive.
Picking up where we left off, Pennsylvania's journey from pre-colonial times to industrial powerhouse is pretty fascinating. But now let's look at the cultural side of things.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is so diverse. It's got these vibrant cities, and then you have these rural communities with strong traditions.
Exactly. And one of the things that really stood out to me from your research was the Amish community and their way of life.
It's definitely intriguing. You know, in a state that's been at the forefront of so much change, to have this group that hold on to traditions so strongly.
Yeah, it's like they're living in a different world almost, intentionally choosing to limit technology and maintain these centuries-old practices.
And it really makes you think about progress and what constitutes a good life.
Ah.
It does. It challenges our assumptions. You highlighted some stuff about their approach to healthcare. That seems particularly interesting.
Yeah. They tend to rely on traditional remedies in their community for healthcare, but they're not completely opposed to modern medicine. It's like this balancing act, preserving their way of life, but also addressing their practical needs. It must be tricky to navigate between those two worlds.
It is. But from what I've read, they've found ways to make it work. And it speaks to their resilience as a community.
Right. Speaking of distinct cultural traditions, we can't forget about the Pennsylvania Dutch.
Oh, absolutely. They're another group that adds to Pennsylvania's unique character.
I was especially drawn to the images of their folk art, the hex signs on the barns.
Oh, yeah. They're so iconic, those colorful designs. They're more than just decorations, though. They have deep roots in folklore. Good luck, ward off evil spirits.
Wow, so they're like talismans almost, protecting the farm and the family.
You could say that. And the colors and designs. Each one has a specific meaning.
I'm curious, though, is the younger generation still carrying on these traditions?
From what I've gathered, there's definitely a conscious effort to preserve the Pennsylvania Dutch heritage. You see younger artists incorporating traditional motifs into their work, but with a modern twist. It suggests that the culture is still alive and evolving.
That's great to hear. And of course, we can't talk about the Pennsylvania Dutch without mentioning the food.
You're right. Their cuisine is amazing.
Those Pennsylvania Dutch pretzels, the shuffly pie, the whoopie pies. Come on, they had to get creative with ingredients.
Yeah, they were resourceful, using what they had to create these delicious dishes. It's comfort food at its best.
It really is. Okay, but let's move from the countryside for a bit and head into the cities. We've touched on Philadelphia's historical significance, but it's so much more than just a place where the founding fathers hung out.
Right, exactly. It's a thriving modern city.
I remember you saying you're a bit of an art enthusiast. What's the art scene like in Philly?
It's fantastic. You've got world-class museums like the Philadelphia Museum of Art and then all these smaller independent galleries. It's a really dynamic mix. You get the sense that the city is embracing both its heritage and its future.
And what about Pittsburgh? It seems like you're particularly fascinated by its transformation from steel town to tech hub.
It is a remarkable story. The decline of the steel industry could have devastated Pittsburgh, but they reinvented themselves. It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
I love that analogy. And what role has technology played in that reinvention?
It's been huge. Pittsburgh is now a leader in robotics healthcare technology. It's really become a center for innovation.
And has that shift been reflected in its cultural scene, too?
Yeah. You mentioned the Andy Warhol Museum, having this iconic museum dedicated to pop art in a city that was once all about steel. It says a lot about Pittsburgh's evolution.
Okay. So we've got these enduring cultural traditions like the Amish and the Pennsylvania Dutch, and then these modern dynamic cities. It's like a microcosm of the state as a whole.
It really is. This interesting mix of tradition and innovation. And that mix is also reflected in Pennsylvania's political landscape. You flag some articles about recent demographic shifts and how they're impacting elections.
Right. There's this influx of younger college-educated residents, particularly in areas like Center County.
And it's changing the political calculus, making the state even more of a swing state in national elections.
And it's not just about age, right? It's also about shifting priorities. Like the environment, I saw you highlighted that.
Yeah. Younger voters tend to be more concerned about climate change and sustainability. And that's putting pressure on policymakers to address those issues.
It's forcing a conversation about how to balance economic development with environmental protection.
Exactly. And Pennsylvania, with its history of both industry and natural beauty, is right at the center of that debate.
Okay, so we've covered Pennsylvania's diverse cultures, its dynamic cities, and even how demographic shifts are influencing its politics. What's next?
Well, we've seen how Pennsylvania's past has shaped its present. But what about its future? It seems like the state is at a crossroads, trying to figure out its role in a rapidly changing world.
I like that. Let's dive into that. Okay, so we've established Pennsylvania is at a crossroads. What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, Pennsylvania has always been kind of a microcosm of America, but right now it feels like the state is facing some big questions. Questions that the whole country is dealing with.
Give me an example. What kind of questions?
Well, like how do we balance economic growth with protecting the environment? How do we bridge the divide between urban and rural communities? And how do we prepare for a future that's going to be shaped by technology and globalization?
Yeah, those are definitely big questions. And it seems like Pennsylvania's history and demographics make those questions even more complicated.
Right. It's like all those threads we've been talking about, the history, the culture, the economy, they're all kind of converging at this moment.
Yeah.
And it feels like Pennsylvania is at a turning point.
So the decisions that Pennsylvanians make over the next few years are going to have a ripple effect beyond just the state.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, Pennsylvania has always been a bellwether state in elections. And the issues that are being debated there are often the same issues that are playing out across the country.
You've got a lot of notes on the role of technology in Pennsylvania's future. Do you see technology as a potential solution to some of these challenges?
It's tough to say. Technology is definitely a double-edged sword. On one hand, it has the potential to create jobs and opportunities, especially in areas that have been hit hard by the decline of manufacturing. But it can also widen inequality if those opportunities aren't available to everyone.
So it's not enough to just have the technology. You need the infrastructure and the education to make sure everyone benefits.
Right. And that brings us back to some of those political debates we talked about. Are policymakers going to make those investments? Are they going to put policies in place to ensure a more equitable distribution of the benefits?
So it sounds like Pennsylvania's future really depends on its ability to adapt and make some tough choices.
Yeah, I think so. And it's not just about government policy. It's also about the choices individuals make, the businesses that invest in the state, and the communities that work together to solve problems.
Thinking about Pennsylvania's role in the nation as a whole, we've talked about how it's often seen as a bellwether state. What does that mean for the country going forward?
Well, the issues that are being debated in Pennsylvania are often the same issues that are being debated on a national level. So how those debates play out in Pennsylvania could have implications for the direction of the whole country.
It's like Pennsylvania is a testing ground for these big ideas.
In a way, yeah. And because Pennsylvania has such a diverse population, both geographically and politically, those ideas have to appeal to a broad range of people if they're going to succeed.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Pennsylvania, it's clear that the state's story is far from over. It's got this rich and complex past, and its future is full of both challenges and opportunities.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes it so fascinating to study. It's a reminder that history is always unfolding, and we're all part of that unfolding story.
I like that. And I hope our listener feels empowered to keep exploring Pennsylvania's story, because it's not just about one state. It's about understanding the forces that are shaping the world around us.
Right, so keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep those conversations going.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through Pennsylvania. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Today is your lucky day. Today is the day that our $3 website works for you, paying you directly to your PayPal daily. Imagine $3 ongoing continuous payments to your PayPal account. Imagine falling asleep and waking up to $300 in your PayPal account. How would this make you feel? How could this help you? What bills could you pay? What kind of fun could you have? What does that retirement look like now? All for a one-time payment of $3. This website is DFY done for you, fully built and completely hosted, and never stops collecting payments for you. You have spent $3 on coffee on a regular, but that coffee won't help you create multiple streams of income. Click the link below.